Welcome into OutKick the show. I'm your fearless leader, Clay Travis. Friday edition of the program because there is so much news out there. Legit, as I sat down just to start talking, Wall Street Journal reported the Ghislaine Maxwell Department of Justice interview that she did. They have released the transcript of it, so I'm sure that will turn into a big story. I am scheduled to be on Fox News with Martha McCallum at the bottom of the hour. I'm also doing this afternoon, evening, a college football panel discussion in downtown Nashville. You can go on my Instagram account if you want details on that. Around 6 p.m. Central, I'll be there with Josh Pate. A lot of you guys know him, college football guy, and we're going to do on the eve of college football kicking off. We will do that discussion. We'll have fun. So that is going on. A lot of different news out there. Trump just had a press conference today. You may have heard Andrew Giuliani, who's heading up the World Cup task force on behalf of the government. He was just on with us on Clay and Buck about a half hour ago. And I'll talk a little bit about the details that came out from the World Cup here in a moment. But big news came out yesterday, and I wanted to weigh in on this. I think I told you guys, I know I did, a few months ago, hey, I think a 9-game SEC schedule is coming. Yesterday afternoon, it was announced. This is the right move. It's 1 billion% the right move. The SEC is going to 9 conference games. There is the announcement that went out from the conference. You can see it up there. Significantly, this will match the 9 conference games played by the Big Ten. There also remains a requirement that an additional major conference opponent be occurring, or Notre Dame, the criteria that would count for that 10th game. What it means is that 10 of the 12 games in the SEC will be against so-called Power 4 conference caliber opponents. The way it is structured is a no-brainer. It actually makes scheduling much easier. There will be 3 yearly rivals. Now, this will be much discussed, much debated. There will be a lot of punches being thrown over this, in figuratively, I hope. And who those 3 rivals are will play itself out. But the end result is every team will play every team every 2 years. So while there will be a lot of attention on the 3 yearly rivals, every team will play every team every 2 years. Every 4 years, and this is great, every 4 years, every team will play home and homes. This is a vast improvement because it otherwise could be, this is crazy, 12 years between when back in the day teams that were from different divisions would have a home and home. You might go 12 years, for instance, between when Auburn would play on the road at Tennessee. Or you might go 12 years between when Texas A&M might have been playing, for instance, at Florida. And so under this new scenario, every 4 years, every athlete in college football in the SEC would play in every stadium. This matters to me because I think it's the right call, but many of you will remember I wrote a book called Dixieland Delight about going around to all 12 at the time SEC football stadiums in the same year. And I haven't been to Oklahoma yet. I've still never been to a game at Oklahoma. I have been to see a college football game in 15 of the 16 SEC stadiums. And I've been to a lot of additional stadiums in the Big Ten and a lot of additional stadiums in the formerly Pac-12 and the Big 12 and the ACC and all these places anyway. I'm fortunate. I've gotten to see a lot of big college football games all over the country, and I've been to basically every major venue in the country. But this mattered to me because one of the coolest things about college football is going to different venues, and I didn't like the fact that you could come play college football and never have the opportunity to play a game in every stadium during your 4-year tenure in college. And so I think this is a vast improvement. I give credit to Greg Sankey. I give credit to ESPN. Guys, look this up. I don't think the terms of how much more money ESPN is paying for this has come out yet. But I would imagine it's going to be significant because it makes the SEC football package more valuable, because having an additional conference game is higher rated than playing some directional school would be, candidly. So ESPN is getting increased value here. So I think the ultimate result of this is going to be, we're going to get a 16-team college football playoff. And I would expect that the Big Ten will now get in line and say, hey, we're in favor of 5 conference champs getting automatic buys, SEC, ACC, Big Ten, Big 12, those 4, plus a non-power 4 conference champion, the highest ranked one, and then 11 at-larges. So, again, maybe they'll shift it down the line, but I would be very surprised if we're not going to 16 and if we're not going to have 5 conference champs and the next 11 at-large teams highest rated. I think that's likely where this is going to go. Not for this year. This year we've got 12 still, but by December 1, they have to make an agreement on whether to stay at 12 or potentially expand. I think it's likely that they're going to expand to 16 and that you will get 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15. See if I can get all these right. 3 versus 14, 4 versus not 12. Did I already screw that up? You know how the bracket's going to go. 116, 215, 314, 413, 512, 611, 710, 89. Boom. I think I got all those matchups. And the top 8 teams in that scenario would all host home playoff games. And then after that, you would move into the neutral site games. I'm not in favor of, right? I don't like having to incorporate the bowl games. I would have the highest seed host the whole way to the championship game. But I think this would be a substantial improvement. So, right result, congratulations. Also, President Trump announced that we are going to see the World Cup group stage announcement on December 5th at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. And that is going to happen on the Friday before the conference championship games are played. That was just announced in the Oval Office. Trump, very funny, said he was asked how involved he would be. He said he sees how much soccer players make, and he might decide to go play soccer. And he said he looked extremely good in his in shorts. And I just had Andrew Giuliani on. I don't think I've ever seen the president in shorts. Have you guys? Has anybody out there seen the president of the United States ever in shorts? Does he sleep in full pants too? I don't know. I'm a shorts guy. I wear shorts everywhere that I can. I have never seen the president in shorts. And so we will see. I think we have a picture of the president in the Oval Office just now with the World Cup trophy. This will all be airing on Fox Sports, by the way, next summer, which should be very, very cool. And I'm excited about it. I understand some of you are not soccer fans. I love all sports. I imagine that I will be going to some of these games. I imagine that I'll be taking my kids to some of these games. And so I am very excited about this, but that was just announced in the last little bit. In other news, the Cracker Barrel implosion continues to get worse. Do we have video? Oh, we do have video. Let's play that. This was Trump in the Oval Office just a short while ago announcing that the group stage, which is actually huge because they have the so-called group of death, where you don't want to be in that group where you end up playing against some of the best teams in the world and it's hard to advance. Here is that video from inside of the Oval Office just a little bit ago.
That's why we brought as well this, which is the winner's trophy. It is the trophy that the winner of the FIFA World Cup wins. Only the FIFA president, presidents of countries, and then those who win can touch it, because it's for winners only. And since you are a winner, of course, you can as well touch it. It's pretty heavy. Yeah. It's the winner trophy. The last one who lifted that is Lionel Messi of Argentina. And here it is in the Oval Office in the White House.
Can I keep it?
For you. Well, you can keep it. We're not giving it back.
We're not giving it back. That's serious.
It fits well.
It goes very well on the wall right over there. We'll put it right below the angels.
I might play. I mean, I see the money that these soccer players, we call it soccer, but I see the money that these soccer players are making. I may try and play. I'm a very good athlete. My son is a very good athlete, and he's a good soccer player. He's on the tall side for soccer. Yeah. He's 6'9". That's pretty tall. But
that's pretty tall.
It's on the tall side.
He's good.
It's on the tall side, but he's good. But no, I may put on shorts. I look extremely good in shorts and join the play. No, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be good.
Many for.
All right, there is Trump. Let me say this, too. If you're a sports fan, and obviously I'm a huge sports fan, this is going to be cool because not very often we have both the World Cup and the Summer Olympics in the United States. The last time we had that back-to-back, 1994, the World Cup that we hosted here, and the Atlanta Summer Olympics in 1996. I think Trump is going to put on a heck of a show here for the World Cup 2026 and the LA Olympics 2028. Let me go ahead and do a Prize Picks read. I guarantee you that Prize Picks is going to have phenomenal props and phenomenal opportunities for you to make picks out there in the Prize Picks app for the World Cup. But they have it also for the Major League Baseball season, for the NFL preseason, for college football, which starts tomorrow with the big Iowa State, Kansas State, Big 12 matchup from Ireland. Our friend Kelly Stewart, a.k.a. Kelly in Vegas, is actually over in Dublin right now. She and I are going to be doing the sports gambling show for college football and the NFL, The Fade, and we will be doing that on Thursdays, as we did last year. We'll start that again on Thursday of this coming week. Prize Pick's easy to play, though. I love this app. You just pick more or less 2 to 6 different players. You can play it in 40-plus states. 13 million people have played, and when you put $5 in and make a pick, you get $50 back when you use code OutKick. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com, code OutKick. That is prizepicks.com, code OutKick. $5 turns into $50. Get hooked up now. And Prize Picks is not going to make the disastrous decision to try to rebrand because they actually like all of you, unlike the new moron CEO of Cracker Barrel. And I believe we have a still shot. I mentioned this yesterday. This was the moron Cracker Barrel CEO on Good Morning America, talking about the fact that she's rebranding Cracker Barrel. Our buddy Joe Kinsey has got a story up right now where Cracker Barrel is doing a pop-up in the meat packing district of New York City, one of the wokest places in America. And I think what this Cracker Barrel rebrand really represents is Cracker Barrel doesn't like their customers. They don't respect their customers. And I do like the average Cracker Barrel customer. It's me and my family. It's a lot of you out there who live all over the South and liked when you went into Cracker Barrel that it felt a bit like your grandma's house. Felt a bit like you were walking in to a nostalgic experience. Great biscuits, great catfish. I mean, this is just kind of Southern family staples. If you are like me and grew up in the South, Cracker Barrel kind of hits you that way. And really what this represents is they decided, Cracker Barrel did, they didn't want that to be the base of their business. They didn't like the Southern, oftentimes white, oftentimes black, poor, oftentimes, frankly, customer. and they wanted to be cooler, and they wanted to be hipper, and that's why their CEO looks like Rachel Maddow, and that's why their entire business plan now is about how do we get Brooklyn lesbians to like us. I saw this, and I couldn't believe it was real. So you guys know the green dildo throwers. I have done a great journalism with a capital J, and I have interviewed some of the green dildo throwers. And one of the guys to get charged, I couldn't believe this was real. They sent me the charges that had been filed against the green dildo thrower in New York City. And they charged him with 10 criminal offenses. 10. They're up there on the screen right now. Attempted assault in the second degree, assault in the third degree, assault in the third degree, menacing in the second degree. This is the one that I could not believe. You can see them all there. Criminal possession of a weapon in the fourth degree. What is the weapon? The green dildo. They charged this guy with criminal possession of a green dildo weapon in the fourth degree in New York. 10 charges. They almost charge you with nothing in New York City. You get released. You can beat up cops. You can Molotov cocktail police cars. You can spit on officers. They don't arrest you and keep you in and prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law for basically anything. They threw 10 charges at this guy, including the use of a dildo as a weapon. So look out. It is a weapon in the fourth degree, and I don't know. I don't know how often weapons that cause orgasms lead to criminal charges, but evidently you got to be careful with those dildos because, yes, they can make you have an orgasm, but they can also put you in a prison cell for a long time to come. So I am working to try to I am working to try to get this guy off, which definitely has a different phrase given the charges here. I am going to get him off from all charges, and I'm going to try to put together a legal defense dream team for our green dildo hero. All right, a couple of other things that are out there. Crime is plummeting in Washington, D.C., as we talked about yesterday. President Trump, in his Oval Office discussion, said he may also send more resources into Chicago to try to drive down crime there, which would be, I think, a fantastic decision. This is where I got attacked. Do you remember when they wrote about me? They said, Clay Travis, OutKick founder, he went on air and said he hopes that it's not just Washington, D.C., where they lower the crime rate. He hopes they do it all over the country. This is the first time I've ever been attacked for wanting less people to be victims of violent crime. I would think this is something Democrats, Republicans, independents could all be in favor of. But what I do think is important here is there's a difference between talk and action. And in the wake of George Floyd, Democrats mostly talked about Black Lives Mattering, but most of the actions they undertook actually did the opposite of protecting Black lives. In fact, by attacking police and suggesting that they were racist, they actually led to police, the data's overwhelming, backing up some because they were afraid of being charged themselves. And as a result, we had a 50-year record high skyrocketing crime rate when it came to murders. That is, in the history of FBI data, we had never seen a more rapid spike in murders. Now, they tried to say, well, this was just COVID initially, but actually crime collapsed in the early days of COVID because everybody went home and nobody was out on the streets. Crime didn't skyrocket until the summer of 2020, and then it just went through the roof. And unfortunately, most of the people who were killed as a result of the skyrocketing rates of crime all over the country were Black. And in Washington, D.C. in particular, and you're probably not going to hear very many people talk about this, 94% of all victims of violent crime are Black. Trump is actually protecting black lives more than any president in yours or mine's life by bringing the National Guard and the police to bear to drive down the rates of violent crime. And overwhelmingly, the beneficiaries of this are going to be black, because 94% of the victims of violent crime are, in fact, black in our nation's capital. So Trump is actually proving that black lives matter by protecting more black lives than any president that has ever existed in yours or mine's life. It's one thing to talk a big game. That's what Democrats did when they wrote Black Lives Matter on the pavement, but actually had way more black lives being taken. And for any politician out there that tries to say, Karen Bass said this the other day, the mayor of Los Angeles, well, this is racist because too many black and brown people are being arrested. Why do you care more about black and brown people being arrested than innocent, non-crime committing black and brown people being protected? See, I got a crazy idea. I want every violent perpetrator off the streets and put behind bars. All of them, white, black, Asian, Hispanic. Now, once you pay your debt to society, if you've been there for years, you can get out. If your crime of violence is not that significant, obviously some crimes of violence, you should never be out on the streets again. To me, this is actually what's happening in D.C. It should be a roadmap to apply all over the country. Memphis, Kansas City, Birmingham, St. Louis, any city with a really, really high crime rate per capita, Chicago. To me, why would you not want this applied? I would love in my hometown of Nashville for the violent crime rate to drop by 50%. If I were the governor of Tennessee, I'd be thinking about calling the National Guard out and sending them to Memphis, which has, if not the highest, among the highest rates of violent crime, the most substantial, the highest rate of violent crime per capita almost anywhere in the country. I'm in favor of more people living, more bad guys being locked up, and more innocent people being able to safely go about the streets of their community without having to be worried about being a victim of crime. As I said earlier this week, why in the world in America would we accept as normal the idea that the crime rate of Washington, D.C. should be 30 times what the crime rate of London is? Global capitals should be safe everywhere in the world, and it should be considered unacceptable to any American for the rate of violent crime in Washington, D.C. to be 30 times what it is in London or Paris. To me, this is a no-brainer, particularly as we get ready next year to host the world for the World Cup, and in 3 years to host the world for the Summer Olympics. Like, just not a challenging decision to make to me going forward. Okay. Positive. Let me hit you with some positives because I do think as we go into the weekend, it's important to have some positives. Stock prices surging after the Jerome Powell, head of the Fed, said, hey, it's time to cut rates, which will have a huge economic impact in beginning to unfreeze so much of the housing market. I've been on this for years, and let's put up the S&P 500. Let me start with this. All the experts told you to panic in April, that little part of the graph that is at the very bottom. I told you to either hold your stock or, if you had more money on the sideline, to put more money into the stock market. I put more money into the stock market. I hope you guys were able to do it. But if you couldn't, I hope you just stayed pat with your 401ks. You've now got record high values. Warren Buffett says it well: be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. At the time in April, everybody was panicking. And I said, hold on to your stocks. Don't worry about day-to-day prices. I know it's tough, but you should be buying for 5, 10, 15, 20-year time horizons. If you do that, on average, you're going to make about 9%. If you buy index funds, which is where most of my money is, I put my money where my mouth is. I'm telling you to do exactly what I do. I've got $25 million in S&P 500 index funds. That's not hyperbole. That is, I have $25 million of my family's money after I sold my company, bought a lot of real estate, got a lot of real estate. But for stock holdings, I have about $25 million in S&P 500 index funds. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just telling you, hey, this is exactly what I did. I put my stock holdings in S&P 500 index funds. Now, you should have diversified holdings. I'm not saying, hey, put every spare dollar you've got there, own homes, invest in a variety of different funds. I have friends who run private equity funds. Most successful guy from my law school class bought the Chicago White Sox recently. He's got a great private equity funds. I'm in like 9 or 10 of his private equity funds. So there's lots of different ways to invest money. And I'm new to having substantial amounts of money. So I've been learning in the past 5-6 years as I've had more money, in the past decade as I've had more money. Hey, this is what's smart to do. S&P 500 index funds, average of 9% a year. Every 10 years, roughly, they should double. So every 10 years, you put your money there, you just sit back, it should double. You're going to have a lot of ups and downs in the meantime. And so you cannot panic, because if you panic emotionally, most people tend to sell at the bottom and buy at the top. Why does that happen? Well, because a lot of people sit around, they feel the loss in their brain more than they enjoy the gain. So when the stock prices go down, you're looking at what you used to have on paper. You decide, oh man, I lost 25% of what I used to have. Oh my goodness, what could I have done with all that money? Oh, I might lose another 25%. I can't stomach this. I'm too nervous. Sell. You sell right at the bottom of the market oftentimes. And then as stock prices start to go back up, you think, oh man, I was so dumb. Why did I do that? And you watch prices go up and go up and go up. Eventually they pass. And you're like, I got to go back in. And then you go back in, you tend to buy at the top of the market. Buying stocks and trying to time the market is virtually impossible to do with any kind of consistency. The only play that makes sense is buying and holding stock. Now, I have some individual stocks, not a ton. I tell you all that I've got. I've got sports gambling stocks because I think I know the business better than most. So I've got Flutter, which is FanDuel. I've got DraftKings. I have got Rush Street Interactive. I have got, the Atlanta Braves, which I told you guys to buy. Relatively few individual stocks, primarily focused and centered in, I've got Paramount stock, I've got Fox stock, in media companies that I think I understand, or in sports gambling companies that I think I understand better than the average person does, okay? Otherwise, S&P 500 index funds. So I hope you held. If you did, you're doing great, all-time highs today. If you sold, you panicked. If you bought in April, you're up over 30%, which is how much you make in like 4 years on average in just the past few months. Okay, interest rates. They need to come down. Biggest issue that we have is interest rates went for on homes, and some of you are going to understand this, from like 2.5 or 3% to 7% almost overnight because of Biden's inflation at 9%. Jerome Powell, head of the Fed, was too late. So inflation soared to 9%. That's why goods got so expensive. Your borrowing cost on cars, on credit cards, on homes went from 2.5%, 3% on a mortgage all the way up to 7% almost overnight. In order to unfreeze that market, we need rates to come from 7% back down to 4.5% or 5% on 30-year and 15-year mortgages. If that happens, then a lot of people will start to consider selling their homes and potentially moving. Right now, and I'm in this camp, I have on my primary residence where I've lived for the last decade, I have a 2.8, I think, percent interest rate. I could pay off that interest rate. I never would. I get a tax deduction up to $750,000 on a home. Also, I can't borrow money at 2.8%. I would be a moron to pay off my 2.8% mortgage rate when I could never buy a home at that rate again. In fact, my mortgage rate is basically inflation. It's effectively free money. It's even more free money when you consider that I pay a 40% tax rate and up to $750,000, I can deduct the interest on my mortgage. I would be crazy to pay off my mortgage. Well, a lot of you out there also have 2.5%, 3% mortgages. You'd be crazy to give up that rate and take on a 7% rate as you would have had to do over the past couple of years. Now, when it comes back down to 4.5%, 5%, it unlocks that market. For a lot of you out there, it allows you to sell. Maybe your kids have gone off to college. You don't need that big home anymore. But it allows you to buy. Maybe you had an extra additional kid. Maybe you want to move into a new home in a neighborhood so that you can be in a better school district. You can't afford to do it right now. We've got to unfreeze the housing market. Okay, I'm about to be on TV with Fox News unless I've gotten bumped, which I've not heard that I have. So let's hit some of these responses. By the way, all of our shows are like Dan Dakich, Super 70 Sports with Ricky Cobb, Hot Mike with Withrow and Hutton. Tommy's already on her own page. We are doing individual YouTube pages. So I appreciate you clicking like and subscribe on this show. If you love Ricky, if you love Tommy, if you love Hutton and Withrow, if you love Dan Dakich, all of those people, Riley Gaines, all of them are going to have their own unique YouTube pages. So you can go subscribe direct to them, and you will get their show and their show only on that page. So if you hate me and you just want to watch Hutton and Withrow, boom, you can go see him. If you hate me and you just want to see Ricky Cobb, boom. Same thing for Dakich, Riley Gaines, all these shows. Tommy, I'm here right now with you guys where you can go post comments. All right. College football needs its own commissioner and needs to be run separately from the NCAA. This conference realignment, playoff, and especially the portal and NIL cannot continue like this. Basically, the Wild West with no rules. I agree with a lot of this. They should pass the SCORE Act, which Jim Jordan is shepherding along with others through the House. Ted Cruz is shepherding on the Senate side. I think it would go a long way towards helping to set rules because right now, leaving aside all of the things that you are pointing out, the challenge is, and this is the big challenge, anytime you try to put rules in place, they get sued for violating antitrust. So you have to have an antitrust exemption in order to be able to do this. Washington, D.C. is unlike any other city or state in America. It's a federal district, our capital. As such, it belongs to all Americans, must be safe, crime-free, beautiful to behold. If the local government cannot or will not run the city properly, the federal government must take over. I co-sign all of that and think it is very well said. The rise in crime from defund the police was utterly predictable from history. The 60s anti-war flower power movement led to a relaxing of social taboos, cohesion, and a spike in crime in the 70s. Look at the Dirty Harry, Death Wish movies, at how crime was portrayed in the 70s. You are correct. And I also think this is, unfortunately, one of the lessons of history, and it is this. We often repeat the stupid decisions made in the past because a lot of the people that made the stupid decisions move on, and young people did not experience the awful. And so we have a cycle where we go back to high crime, decide crime's too high, and say, hey, let's put people who commit crimes in prison and throw away the key. Then crime goes down, and people say, you know what, we're being too tough on the criminals. We get lenient, criminals come back out, crime goes back up, and then we say we have to put the criminals back in prison. I would like to cut out the experiment where we pretend we don't have to put violent criminals in prison, and I would like to just keep locking them up and throwing away the key, and I would like to drive down violent crime by half and save way more lives, white, black, Asian, and Hispanic, have way more families feeling safe. That is my goal. That is my aspiration. And hopefully we can start to do more of that. Go buy Balls, my most recent book. I'm going to go do this college football discussion. But first, I will be on Fox News, at least scheduled to be in about 15 minutes. And then I am running around like crazy, going to a high school football game tonight. Love all of you. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. I am Clay Travis. Click like, subscribe. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on TikTok. I'm everywhere. So is OutKick. Thank you all. Have fabulous weekends. Enjoy the games tomorrow.